Hey guys, today I want to share with you a psychological concept that I think is pertinent to us in all aspects of our lives, be it our personal lives, our professional lives, our relationships with others. And this concept is also widely used in the clinical contexts as well. And the concept that I wanted to share is called locus of control. And locus of control refers to the extent to which individuals believe they have control over their lives, over the things and events that happen to them, and over the people around them. And when we look at the locus of control as a concept, there are three elements that are within that concept. The first element would be things outside of our control. So this would be things like the weather, the economy, the market, and so forth. There are things outside of our control. There are things inside of our control, the second element, which would be things like our reactions, our behaviors, our words, and so forth. And there are things that are inside or within our influence, and these are elements that we often overlook or construe as being completely outside of our control. And things inside this third element of things within our influence would be others' liking for us, others' perception of us, others' perception of our service or our product that we sell, and so forth. And I think it's really important for us to learn to adopt and focus on the second, the third elements, which are things inside of our control and things within our influence. I'll start by sharing with you what I learned from Alex Hormozi. I came across a short by him a few days back in which he talked about sometimes in sales you can do things that makes it mathematically or statistically impossible for you to fail. And one example of this would be the number of follow-ups you carry out and the number of cold messages that you send out, or it could be the amount of content that you create. You create so much awareness, brand awareness, you reach out to so many leads that it's almost impossible for you not even to receive a reply or to extend or expand your attention or your brand awareness and so forth. And I think that is one example of someone focusing very much on things within their control, that is their behavior of sending out messages and producing content, and within their influence. Even though a person might not reply to me, I could keep showing the value that I'm able to provide so that they at least pay attention to me and is willing to then engage in a conversation with me. And this relates to actually one of the training sessions, or one of the many training sessions that I've conducted on negotiation and influencing skills. There was a time when a participant brought up the fact that they have the habit of attributing successful sales outcomes to luck, which means whenever they see someone succeed in converting a deal, they would think, oh, this person got lucky. Whether it's that the client happened to like the person, or the person happened to meet just the right client at the right time, and so forth. And the individual does not pay attention to their own behaviors and actions. And that is very dangerous because that's awfully irresponsible. When in a time when we look at an outcome, it's also important for us to think about our own behavior. If our colleague, for example, is able to convert lots of sales, perhaps there is a thing or two at least that we can learn from the colleague, whether it's their storytelling skills, presentation skills, ability to show care for their clients, and so forth. And maybe, just maybe, the person just got lucky. But luck itself, from my experience at least, is not enough. A lot of hard work has to go into the process before luck can be an opportunity that has utility to us. Which means also that you can make yourself lucky, and many times you make yourself lucky through the work that you put in. If you're consistently following up, consistently sending out cold messages, for example, then it's almost hard for you not to be unlucky. Another instance of that would be if you consistently ensure that you update yourself as far as your product knowledge, product awareness, and industry knowledge and awareness. It's almost impossible for you to trip up and embarrass yourselves in front of your stakeholders and clients. And in that case, you wouldn't call yourself lucky. You would just say that you've done the work. Well, you may say that you're lucky enough to have the knowledge and the initiative to do the work. But then you're able to produce the result that you do, not just because you got lucky, but because of a combination of good fortune, luck, and hard work. And I think that would be a representation of showing proactivity and having what we call an internal locus of control, meaning you construe things and your own life as being within your control and influence. And this is interesting because it extends, like I mentioned earlier in the video, to a clinical context as well, because research has shown that individuals with an external locus of control, meaning they perceive things as being outside of their control and influence, are more likely to have depressive thoughts, if not clinical depression. Of course, clinical depression is complicated. A lot of other factors like genetic predispositions, thought processes, and so forth come into clinical depression. But having an external locus of control certainly is one of the predictors of clinical depression, or at least having depressive thoughts. Whereas a person who has an internal locus of control, meaning they view things as within their control and their influence, they are more likely to have better well-being. They're more likely to be confident. They are more likely to have higher satisfaction with life and so forth. So it's important that we direct our attention to things that are within our control and influence. And sometimes that could take a lot of hard work, because sometimes it takes reflective work for us to be able to recognize and identify factors in individuals or aspects of individuals that are inside of our influence. And like I mentioned, I do believe that having an internal locus of control is a more responsible way of leading life, because who would like a person, or who would like to interact with a person who consistently point fingers and shake their fist at the sky that this is outside of my control, so there's nothing I can do about it, and therefore I would not be doing anything about it. They harbor resentment, they may victimize themselves and so forth. We'd much rather associate ourselves with, and we'd much rather admire someone who takes responsibility of their lives and their decisions. So I think that's really important. And the final message I guess I can share is that if we are currently unhappy with our lives, we can start to take a look at whether it's because we are focusing on things that are outside of our control. A message that I like, that is shared by Coach Greg Doucette, is obesity. If you're obese, it's easy for you to point fingers and think that, oh, you put the blame on your genetics, on your parents, of the family that you're born in. You say that these are outside of your control because you did not pick your parents, and therefore you did not pick your genetics as well. But you can then look at the lifestyle changes that you can make as an individual. Can you be exercising more? Can you be cleaning up your diet more, and so forth? And obesity is obviously only one example of how locus of control applies to our everyday lives. This could be related to our education of ourselves, how we spend our time on a daily basis, how we make use of our leisure time, and so forth. So locus of control is definitely something that you want to keep in mind, and like I mentioned, very pertinent to us in different aspects of our lives. Therefore, if you have an external locus of control, it will be a good idea, I think, to adjust your mindset so that you focus on things within your control and within your influence. Have an internal locus of control instead. Thank you very much. I hope you enjoyed the video, learned a thing or two, and I look forward to seeing you in the next one. Please do subscribe and leave a comment for the algorithm. Like the video if you enjoyed it, and until next time, I will see you.